now I'm going to tie in, like, what is Babylon? What does that have to do with our story? Right? And then I go on to, did you guys know that By the Waters of Babylon, the title comes out of the Bible, which is out of Psalms, right? And it has this psalm. For those, these are what are called allusions. Used to be, you could start, you could start right there, is that it? I think that's it.
Psalm 137. By the rivers of Babylon we sat and wept.
So remember, I don't have to read it anymore. I'm out here. I feel like, and we're watching this, and then when it's over, by the way, this is, you know what this says? The Babylonian captors want the Jews, the Israelites, to play their harps and sing. And they go, we're captives in a foreign land. We don't feel like singing. In fact, they said, we can't wait till you're conquered and they take your babies and dash your brains against the rocks. So it's so this is where the title comes from.
You can embed that with that Delta. You got it.
Yeah, and then there's Don McLean, who sings the song. So now we have music. You think they might remember where it comes from? Yeah. And then he sings that song. Now I go into the title and the biblical allusions. Then, what does Jimi Hendrix have to do with the Bible? Well, the song, All Along the Watchtower, comes out of Isaiah, where there are two riders approaching. What they're announcing is the fall of Babylon. So now I'm tying in their popular music back into the biblical allusions. And this is a guy who explains that part about Isaiah. And then, well, how could the world end, guys? Well, we can have global warming. I don't think that'll do it. Let me show you what we'll do. I'm going to let this run. I want to show you, because this gets riveting. This is where, they kind of... There were projections sticking out on Little Boy, right? That when the bomb dropped on Hiroshima, it howled like a demon. That's what the people said. It's kind of ironic. We haven't gotten to the story yet, have we? Think they're going to be interested in the story? Should we turn this on?
No, I didn't put the speaker on. I'm sorry, I didn't put the speaker on.
Where's the speaker?
It's in the other room.
Anyway, I have an amplifier. I'm sorry, but it's loud. They do a nice little animation here which explains chain reactions. Also time to explain dramatic. That always gets their attention. I don't know how much time I have, so I'm going to flip along. Then I do some connections. I'll pull in songs by Bob Dylan, because later on when they write poetry, we're going to do that. And then I show them nuclear war. And I explain to them, this is what we're really afraid of, guys. This is the, as I call it, the boogeyman in the closet that we haven't talked about to your generation. And I said, that plane flies 24/7, there are 5 of them. And when one comes down, one's on station. And for those of you that have seen this, that are old enough to remember this from the mid-'80s, this is called The Day After, and it depicts what a nuclear war would be like, which, of course, is not good. And they've never seen this. Our kids have never seen this. They have no idea what the, they're like, why are we doing this? I went, how do you explain the Cold War historically to someone if they don't know what an atom bomb is? We don't have sound.
We got it next door.
For those of my younger folks in the audience, you're going to see a high altitude burst here. Those kids always ask, that nuclear weapons give off what's called an electromagnetic pulse. And anything like electric is toast. If you exploded 3 of them above the United States, you could take out everything electric in the United States. Can you imagine life without electricity? So, and I run this to show them what a nuclear explosion looks like. Because this does a pretty nice little job of it.
Who's in the audience?
I'm going to move it along after this. Now I could tell them what it's like, right? I could read them a book. I could, but I'm not going to be as effective as this is. And I tell them, guys, that's 30 miles away. If you're looking at it, you're blind. If you're in the open, you probably receive enough radiation where you're not going to do too well. As I call it, that's the boogeyman in the fog. The crazy uncle. So that usually gets their attention. And then they go like, please tell me we don't have these anymore. I said, sorry. Okay. And this is a little thing that talks about the past, about honoring the past. But anyway, in our story. And this is how I present the story. I'll have the text on one side.
The north and the west and the south are good hunting ground, but it is forbidden to go east.
At this point, they'll have their books open.
It is forbidden
A lot of them will read.
to go to any
They're following
of the
along.
places
They have their notebooks
except
out.
to search for metal. And then he who touches the metal
And I'll read it.
is a priest or the son of a priest.
And notice this is about what, a paragraph? And then we stop. Just like AP.
Things to ponder.
And I say, okay,
Which direction
let's
is
talk about these as a
forbidden?
class. And they're writing notes.
What do you think might be the dead places, the places of the gods, the great burning, and why must one be purified? Can you think of other purification rituals?
Of course, there's always a kid like, what is purification? We assume they know things that they don't.
My father is a priest.
And then I'll do one, and then I'll have more questions.
More ponderings. How do you know that there is more than one dead place?
We're going deep, like AP, taking a little piece and then going deep into it.
Which facts might indicate that the narrator is primitive?
Now they have to make inferences or go back and see the inferences in the preceding. to identify the rite of passage.
There is
Now,
also the
they're not
idea
going to know what a rite of passage is, right?
that right will win out.
And I later on I go into what a rite of passage is.
After the
I explain it to them like
noblesse oblige.
there's a part in here that talks
Noblesse
about
oblige is generally used to imply
that talks about noblesse oblige, where that because he's in a privileged position, he's punished more severely. I also show the connection where that comes from out of the
The
Bible.
term has also been applied
Alright.
more broadly to those who are capable of simple acts to make.
Something we've forgotten today, by the way, noblesse oblige. To whom much is given,
After a time,
much is
I
expected.
myself was allowed to go into the dead houses in search for metal. So I learned the ways of those houses.
And you get an idea of how my lessons go.
Mm-hmm.
More to consider, there's an elitism expressed here. We talk about elitism.
There is an elitism.
Give an example on the preceding page. Yeah. Go back into your text and find it.
The elite
Okay? Then and I have candy. And whoever has the finds it first, I throw candy, so it's, I come back to this does not replace you.
implies that
What this does is it makes a clone of you. And now I can interact with my students. I'm not so busy, reading. As soon as I start reading, Jesse over here wants to talk, and and Francine, right?
and why
So
we are
I'm
not
gonna
ignorant.
I'm gonna skip to the end here. If you go to the end, I have some pictures of Hiroshima. I show some of the bombs, because this is an apocalyptic story. It's about the end of the world. And for those of you that are not familiar with it, what it is at the end, the young man on his journey goes to what's New York City, and he realizes that the gods were not gods but were men. And the last line of the story is, "We have to build again." And what I'm hoping with a lot of these things is that it will broaden their interest, where they'll go, "I want to know more about that. I didn't know that." So, and I do this for every story. Now I'm not a nuclear bomb, well, I am kind of a nuclear bomb, but I do this for what's appropriate for the story. When I do, for example, Edgar Allan Poe, I'll go into the idea of Carnival, or Mardi Gras, which means Fat Tuesday, and I have a little thing on that where I do a thing. I said, if you couldn't have meat, or if you couldn't have your favorite thing for 40 days, and if everything was grim and there's no partying and no movies and no games, boy, you might want to party the last night too, right? And I explain that. So every short story that I do, I set up the historical and intellectual context of the story for the student. By the way, you get the idea that no company is going to do this. It's going to be you guys who do it. And I'm going to skip to the end. I get a turning point, which I tie into Shakespeare later. And then there's a little thing here that's a great little, it's on the beach. If you ever go home this weekend, Netflix it, see On the Beach, guys. It's about the end of the world, and it's like, who would have thought we would be stupid enough to kill ourselves? Yeah. And then what we get into is we do a review, and we have these questions, and we discuss them in class, and they really do. I mean, at this point, they're kind of interested. They're going with it. They're bought in. And you can see we have a lot of stuff we do. And then we get into the elements of plot development, point of view, types of point of view, characters, direct characterization, a lot. But that's my lesson for one. Now, obviously, with the depth we're going in here, I do one of these a week. And I used to try, because I didn't like grammar. Which, by the way, I teach a lot of grammar. When I was for a new teacher, I would do short stories. I'd do one a day. 1 every 2 days. But it's far better, I believe you'll agree, it's far better to go into depth and to do first of all, to choose a great piece of literature, and then to go into depth on it. And that's what I found is, given our limitations that we have, to me, I think that's a better idea. AP thinks it's a better idea too, for what that's worth. Any questions? No one has any questions?
Do you have these available? Because
Absolutely.
you've got those kids. They're available online.
No, what if you do is if you will
Here you go.
email us,
Ask a question, you get to put some.
if you email us, if you will email us, it's aplusteachers.org at Gmail. I think, and if you will email us, we will send you. Tell us we'll tell you what we have. We'll send you what we have.
Well, but I guess what I was thinking is, I've used something similar to this, and then they have access to it. So for those that, high school students, I had no idea.
As soon as we can get a grant for about $500,000, that'll all happen.
Okay.
Well, you, Mark.
It's
It's on the back.
Um,
Is it on the little brochure?
Yeah, it's on the back of the
Do you
brochure.
have a brochure? Anybody need a brochure? Anybody need one?
That's not
The other neat thing is
I've done Shakespeare, by the way.
in other classes like math and things like that, you can bring in actual stuff and do actual